Over a decade and a half ago, I worked at a company called Nielsen. Some of you may know Nielsen as the company that does the movie and TV ratings, but Nielsen is much more than that. For companies in the consumer packaged goods world, Nielsen is a gold mine. They have access to billions of data points, every product, every SKU, thousands of grocery and drug and convenience stores, just a mind-boggling amount of information. My client was Procter & Gamble, and my job was to advise my client whether they can increase the price on a product. The idea behind it, they increase the price, they make more money. Now, something else also happens when you increase your price. You sell less quantity. People will buy less of your product. They may buy it less frequently, switch to competitors, or simply stop buying your product. Maybe they stop buying the category altogether. If you're lucky, your product has few substitutes and you have close to what is called an inelastic demand curve, which means that you can increase your price and the gains from the price increase outweigh the drop in quantity, so your revenue increases. That is, of course, every manager's dream, and actually one of P&G's products, Prilosec, did have an inelastic demand curve. Now, understanding your demand curve is critical for any business, and here's why. A product's demand curve is not a smooth line. As you remember the curves that you were drawing in your economics class. It drops steeper or flatter along the way. It may be very elastic between certain price points and perhaps inelastic between other price points. There are usually pricing thresholds, the crossing of which may be detrimental to your product. This here is the hypothetical demand curve for an internet service provider. Today they sell internet service at $79.90. Insight into their demand curve would give them the opportunity to maximize revenue. In this example, their revenue would increase if they dropped price down to $69.90. Understanding your demand curve is critical if you want to introduce some strategic pricing. Now, what is strategic pricing, you may ask? Any pricing activity whose purpose it is to further your strategic objectives, whether you want to increase your share, expand geographically, take on some competitors, or better align with your brand's purpose. You can have an overall corporate pricing strategy. A good example for that is Walmart with their everyday low pricing. Product lines also can be priced strategically. For example, Pampers is P&G's flagship diaper brand. They sell for 32 cents per diaper. It faces competition from both Huggies and the many store brand diapers, all selling for less. P&G strategically created Loves, a new product, priced at an aggressive 17 cents per diaper for two reasons. A, to entice consumers buying the store brand to trade up to a better quality for only a few cents more, and B, to discourage Huggies to further undercut Pampers. Strategic pricing can also be used to provide value along the demand curve and increase revenue. In this hypothetical example here, the company is going to market with a single price point, but let's assume they sell 1,000 units at $79.90 for a total revenue of $79,900. However, if they were to switch to a good, better, best strategic pricing approach, they'd be able to cater to customers along the demand curve, increasing revenue 2.5 times. Now take a look at how providing services along the demand curve creates huge revenue opportunities. How could an internet service provider offer services along the demand curve? Perhaps offering a slower, bare-bones internet at a much lower price for those customers who only use it for occasional email or messaging. Then increase the price for added services, for added speed, added features, for example, high-speed or streaming services, or perhaps home security. Providing services along the demand curve can increase revenue 2.5 times relative to a single price point approach, sometimes even more. But before you can set prices optimally, you need to understand your demand curve. You cannot set your strategy before you understand the economics of your customer. Let me repeat it. You have to have the science first before you can talk strategy. The Nielsen approach of measuring elasticity is very useful if your product is a consumer packaged good. Even then, it has limitations. It doesn't tell you how your demand curve would change if you change the flavor of your product from lemon to kiwi, or increase the increase the package size. If you are in a different industry where there's not a database of billions of grocery store transactions, what do? If your product is a software as a service, an internet service provider, a credit card company, a bank, how do you understand your demand curve? Well, there's good news. You actually can measure your demand curve using a well-accepted research technique called conjoint analysis. Conjoint analysis is complex but extremely powerful for measuring customers' preferences. Conjoint analysis comes with a couple of added benefits. Number one, it allows you to measure demand as you change product attributes or add features. For example, what happens to demand if you add streaming services in addition to internet? If you add a new feature or software? How much more of the market could you capture with a new feature? Conjoint analysis allows you to calculate the amount customers are willing to pay for added features and services. This is willingness to pay, and it's the basis of what is called value-based pricing. Value-based pricing is hands down the smartest way to price product. It beats cost-plus pricing. But then again, you can't do the value-based pricing if you don't first measure willingness to pay. Number three, conjoint analysis doesn't just allow you to optimize price or calculate willingness to pay. It can also be extremely helpful in understanding demand for your product. As a matter of fact, it can be used in estimating market demand for new product introduction. So in closing, pricing can be powerful, a very powerful weapon in your arsenal for taking share, for maximizing revenue, for building a brand, but you can't do the strategy unless you take the time to understand the science. You can't set the price points for a feature unless you understand what customers are willing to pay for those features, what the value is of those features. You can't understand willingness to pay unless you understand the economics of your customers, the demand curve. Once you understand the demand curve, you will have a competitive advantage as you use your pricing strategically. Thank you.